Recording. Start recording. We live podcast. You there, Tamara?
Yep.
This is the Divorce is Not an Option podcast produced by Katrina Witherspoon and Joshua Bruton. Right now, you're listening to the smooth sounds of my voice, Stephen James Dixon. Would love to announce we got a new partner, a new co-host, Tamara Glaspie. How we doing? What's going on? Introduce yourself to the people.
I'm good. Do I get to say you listen to the smooth sound of my voice too?
Now you gotta come up with your own
Oh, well.
little tagline introduction thing.
All right, cool.
We
Well,
don't know
I'm
how smooth
Cameron.
you are yet.
You what?
We don't know how smooth you are yet. That's first issue.
Oh, okay. Well, we shall see. I'm here to speak for whatever perspective is needed at the moment.
So you think you can just flip through and scroll through perspective?
I can do that. I
You
am
can play.
multi-talented.
You gonna do the single woman? You gonna do the dating woman? What are the roles you got?
Let's see. The working woman. The woman who don't want to work. Um, let's say I can kind of from the perspective of wanting to be in a marriage and a relationship and seeing how you get there and how you stay there.
Can you give us hood chick?
I can throw a little ratchet in there.
Can you give us baby mama drama?
Uh, from the perspective of, dealing
Yeah.
with the drama. I don't do baby mama, or I'm not a baby mama.
Okay. As long as you can give us the perspective, we might need you to twist your neck and go in full character.
Yeah, I can do all of that if necessary.
So, what made me excited about doing the show with you is because I know that the project I've been working on for years now, Divorce is Not an Option, is one of the things that you really are a fan of, even though you've never been married, you want to be married, and you've held out this long, just so you can make sure that the person that you choose, you never go through a divorce with, right?
It's an interesting way to put it, held out this long. But yeah, I mean, I come from a two-parent household, and so divorce is not something I've ever seen in any generation in my family. And so marriage is something very important to me, and I don't want to play with that.
Okay, so where we want to start today?
So, what made me excited about you inviting me to be your co-host for the Divorce is Not an Option podcast is how you always have such interesting stories about your fight for marriages and your relationship coaching sessions and how those go. And I just want to know, have you had anything interesting happen this week or anything you would like to share?
You know what? I told you a story about some relationship I had, but that was 2 days ago, and I've had a good relationship session that was more recent that I think I want to talk about now. Do you remember what I told you the other day?
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
I can't remember the scenario that I was walking through though. So I'm going to tell you about one from today. Today I had a one-on-one session with a young man who is, he's looking to possibly get married within the next year, right? Mid-30s, no kids, never been married before. And so he's dealing with...
Wait, let's stop right there. He's looking to get married within the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Does he already have the person that he's looking to get married to?
Now he's gonna get one off the shelf. Now I'm joking. He does have a person, a young
Okay.
lady that he's interested in how to develop the relationship. He's never really
Okay,
had
cool.
that in the past.
I've actually heard men say I'm getting married this year, but they ain't got nobody. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, this brother has someone that he's been dating for a while now, and he's, well, not a while. It's been a reasonable amount of time. Side note, I think that people should know within 2 years, like that should be the max. If you can't find out if it's somebody you want to be with in 2 years, that means that you're not grown and you're not an adult and you're not mature and you don't know what you want out of a relationship and you haven't arrived. So it's all those
And
things.
that was in all caps.
Right, all caps, and that's podcast number 39 that we're gonna get to on that one.
Right.
But and so what happened with him was he was struggling with his ability to convey where he couldn't meet her needs from a financial aspect. And so he's, like a homeowner and he's got child support and things of that nature. So he has real responsibilities, but his girlfriend has needs also. And the girlfriend is kind of struggling with finding out where her place is in a priority. And he's having a tough time trying to communicate the priority. So it was little nuances that I had to explain to him. Whereas he would say things like he kind of communicated how he would just say to her, "Well, no, I'm not doing that," or "No, I don't want to do that right now," or "I don't want to spend money on that kind of stuff." And whereas I had to communicate to him, go ahead.
So this chick has a man who has a job and a house, and she got a problem.
You'd be surprised, right? Right? That's
I'm just
episode number that's episode number 402, right?
okay,
And so, and
okay.
so, and so what happened was is I explained to him that I believe it's a part of manhood to have the skill and the ability to be able to look a woman in the eye and tell her that you can't do something, but at the same time have her believe that you've done your best.
That's
Did
good.
you get
That's
that?
really good. Yeah,
That's
that's
that's a
important.
skill, right? That's important, like, cause, like, especially when you go through things like buying houses together, deciding on how much money you're gonna spend on your kids, what daycares, what colleges they're going to, all these financially impacting decisions. Sometimes mama is like, I need my baby to be in a Volvo, the most expensive safety vehicle there is, and dad might need to come in there and say, hey, honey, right now it's not in our best interest to spend $30,000 on a car for someone in high school.
So drive the speed limit.
Right. And so, what we have to be able to do, and so what I communicated to him was, as a man, it is your role to deliver the bad news, right? And so you got to be able to come into the conversation and say, and I told him too, one of the problems he was having was he communicates to his woman like a dude, waiting for the
Okay.
applause, because I know women have heard that before, right? Like,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, so how do you like train a man how to talk to a woman?
It's really first just acknowledging that men and women are different. Like, I walk brothers through a process, right? So, and I make them respond. Are men and women different? Yes. Are men and women different emotionally? Yes. Do you talk abrasively and dominantly and with a matter of fact nonchalant tone to men? Probably, yes.
Hmm.
Do you think that you should talk to a woman like that? I guess not. I get it. You know what I mean? And
Right,
so it's little
right.
nuances like man saying, no, I don't want to do that, to saying, honey, it's not a good time right now. See what I'm saying? The
Okay.
difference? And so
Yeah.
he would give me scenarios and he would just bounce them off of me. Like, how does he communicate that, hey, for Thanksgiving, he doesn't want to visit his, he doesn't want to go to her mother's house for Thanksgiving because of it financially. Not that he doesn't want to go to her mother's house, but he's just saying that, hey, based on the things I got to do for the Christmas vacation, we got a cruise coming up in January, things like that or whatever. It's not a good time. And she's like, but it's my mother and I haven't seen her in a while. And he's like, hey, you can go if you want to go. We can go together. It's not a good time. And I had to talk to him about, and he was in the difficult. This is really the moral to the story. The moral to the counseling session we had is that a lot of men, good men at least, that are in this situation, a lot of times they struggle because emotionally they want to be able to say yes to everything of their significant other.
Okay, that's interesting. Um, One, because I don't know that I agree with that.
Hmm.
Two, um, just this whole point, I think, is a little more universal because I know in my circle of friends, I know a lot of strong women, and we all struggle with the same thing as far as being too blunt in talking to our men.
That's another good point too, right? And so the emotional side of what I'm talking about is like when I went to communicate with my wife to say, hey, you know, we figured out what kind of house we want to buy. She want
Hmm.
all the bells and whistles, of course, right?
Hmm.
And so I have to be able to stand in a place to say, hey, we can't afford to have the gold toilets like Master P. We can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever, And so with women, yes, I found a lot of women, man. I talk to women on a day-to-day basis where it's almost like once a woman gets comfortable in the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and if you hurt that woman, she go back for the jugular every time.
Yep. Yep. But I mean, I really applaud this man for coming to you and trying to discuss, how to address all of these issues before marriage. My question would be like you're talking to your wife about these things that you have to buy in your day-to-day life. Did you have these discussions in premarital counseling?
Well, I haven't done premarital counseling with them. I'm doing more counseling and coaching with him, and I don't really do counseling. I'm not a counselor. I'm not no certified therapist person, and I love those people. God bless them. But for me, I'm more concerned with coaching, and so I do relationship coaching, and specifically when a couple comes to me or a person comes to me, I'm focused on coaching the boyfriend to prepare him to be a husband, and I'm coaching the
Hmm.
girlfriend to prepare her to be a wife. And even when they're in marriage, I'm coaching husbands on how to be better husbands, and I'm coaching wives on how to be better wives. Because if we have great husbands and great wives, then we have great marriages.
Well, okay, so I asked this question to kind of tie into an article that I read this week that really, really struck me. It was called Why You Will Marry the Wrong Person by Alain de Botton. And the article is on the NewYorkTimes.com on May 28th, and it talks about delving into our complexities, like our own complexities before marriage, and figuring ourselves out. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I read the article. Thanks for sending it to me. I it's when I saw that part you were talking about, delving into our own complexities before marriage. I thought about 2 points. The first point I thought about was we don't develop problem-solving techniques when we're single, and the reason being is because when we're single, we get to a point where we have a disagreement with a significant other, and we leave instead of working through that problem. So then when we get married, it's really the only thing. Marriage is the only thing where there's no on the job training. That's the second point. And so because there's no on the job training, meaning there's like no preseason, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no, once you're married and the emotions are, heightened. And so when you're married though, and you have a problem in your marriage, quite often, a lot of the times, you don't have anything to fall back on, right? So all of our professions, like when I was in project management, and your job and all that kind of thing, when you have a problem, you can always say, hey, I had this problem 2 years ago at Pepsi. What did I do? Hey, I had this problem 2 years ago when I was working at Home Depot. What did I do? But in marriage, for many of us, we can't say the last time I had this kind of problem in a marriage, what did I do?
That's a good point. And it's like just thinking in my job, there's a database of solutions.
Right,
Like,
right.
there's
Scientific
no
solutions.
right. There's no database. Like people don't really talk about the real in marriage a lot.
Right. Just like sometimes I talk with I had a conversation with a man 2 days ago in which the conversation was very simply, hey, it's not always gonna be fair.
Mm,
And he was
mm-hmm.
like, well, what do you mean? Like, how can it not be fair? Hey, it's not gonna always be fair. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you paid for this time, but that's what I got for you in this scenario. That's not always going to be fair. And sometimes it's going to be 60-40 your way, and sometimes it's going to be 60-40 her way. And you have to be able to trust that in the end, it will even out. But if we looking to
That is
see
so
that every situation being 50-50, it's not going to work for marriage.
yeah, and I think like you were saying with the on the job training, I mean not having, anyone to go to, there's so much fake book happy that, nobody is really saying what's really going on.
Right, and that's why I'm an open book, and I try to communicate. Luckily, my wife allows me to communicate at
That's
some of the
important.
stories, right, that we share and things that we work through. I think I'm able to look at certain scenarios and say, you know what, I didn't know this when I was going through it, and so I should be able to share it with someone else. And my wife is good at that too. So yeah, marriage, we got to remember that. marriage is on the job training, and a lot of people don't really even understand that once they get married. A lot of people don't really understand that once you get married, you have to say to yourself, it's kind of like when you start a new job, right? So your job was similar to this. The last job you had was similar to this, but this is a new job, new environment, new people.
Mm-hmm.
The way marriage is different is not, and I got a great example of this with a couple I was working with before. I did premarital coaching with them, and then I did coaching with them after they were married. Before they were married, they would have disagreements and arguments, and the boyfriend would kind of blow it off like it wasn't a big deal. And his girlfriend was one of those. Say it again.
He could go home.
The girlfriend would just turn all the way up though. That's why, because she would turn all the way up like I hate you. She would do stuff like that. You get on my nerves.
Oh,
She was very
wow.
aggressive, right? And he would ignore it because he became used to it. But then after they got married, when she said I hate you, to him it was like, oh my God, I'm married to someone who hates me.
Yeah, that is real then.
It's real then. So that's why marriage is not on. As soon as you get married, it's a switch up, it's a change up, and we got to start doing something differently.
Okay, but that's a good segue into another point that really struck me from the article because it talks about learning how to handle relationships when they threaten to reveal our personal flaws. So this chick now recognizes, okay, I'm a lunatic, when I get upset. Like, how does she fix that? And how does she accept that and deal with it?
If she a lunatic, she can't never be with nobody. So
But she married now, she got to figure it out.
yeah, when I run into people like that I feel like are a little bit off, um,
Hmm.
I try to find constructive ways to communicate to them how they're off and if they can come to some agreement with that. Um, I had a conversation with a woman at one point where I had to say to her that you have an anger management issue, and I needed her to agree. I needed her to be in
Right,
agreement. Like,
right,
yes, I have an anger management issue, and I don't really work with that. Like, I work with relationship, marriage, love, that kind of stuff. Anger management, I referred her to an anger management specialist, a licensed clinical therapist, all that kind of stuff, because anger is something totally different from love. It impacts your love capacity, but it's something that it's a separate basket that you got to go figure out what kind of eggs you got in that basket and why. And so
right.
what I try to do is, whether your problem is anger, whether your problem is being direct, like you kind of talked about earlier, or your problem is being selfish, or your problem. Like, I have another couple where the husband is just like, I cuss out people. That's what I do. Like, I don't mean nothing by it. It's just the words that I use, right? It's
Wow.
really like he really was like, and I was like, so dude, wait a minute, hold on, slow down. You cussing out your wife, and you're telling me and your wife that she shouldn't take it personal.
Wow.
And he was dead serious. Like, he was really dead serious, really cool, calm. Like, yeah, if I come in and I'm like, this is fucked up, or this is some bullshit, you know, shocked everybody that
She's
didn't
just
think I
supposed to
used
take.
those words. Right, she's supposed to take it and not take it personal, right? And so I had to really communicate to him from a level of, okay, when you use these words that are not common to, everyday language, they bring a heightened sense of awareness to the conversation, and the person feels attacked personally, whether you intend to do it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I talked to him about is really the filter that you have, that you use in the world, is you should have more of a filter when you are dealing with your significant other.
Okay. So, all right. So then you're trying to figure out, your own flaws and your own faults or whatever. But how do we go about like getting enough information to make an informed lifetime decision on somebody else? I mean, because I almost married somebody just because he looked good. So,
Somebody giving you a high five, like, "Ooh, girl, I almost did that too." Uh,
so
hey,
I'm like, I mean, he was cool, but I realized
I
at some point,
guarantee you that men do it every day.
yeah, but I mean, like for somebody who's trying to do better and somebody who's, who really believes that divorce is not an option, how do you make a really well-informed decision?
It's on those type of questions, like it's a good and a bad. Like the first, I do the bad first. The bad is that I've actually been toying with the idea of not getting married until you turn like 35, right?
Seriously?
Reason being is because yeah, I know that's very old, and I know that's impacting the baby making ages and all those
Right.
things, right? Because my wife already told me she wasn't having no more kids after 35. Um, but the thing about it is that when we're young and we get married, that we're still growing, and sometimes we grow apart. And then, like I said, we're young and we're still growing, and then as we grow, we grow into who we really are going to be. You know, like me, I'm 42 years old now. The amount of changing I'm going to do character wise, morally, ethically, personally has significantly decreased. When I was 20, the amount I changed from 20 to 25 was massive. The amount I changed from 25 to 30 was even bigger. But I
But
think
do you
my
think that was your morals and ethics?
morally and ethically, I probably haven't changed as much. But in terms of me being a man and being capable and ready to compromise, to sacrifice, to negotiate, to put someone's needs and wants and desires
Mm,
ahead of mine,
yeah,
what you have to be able to do in marriage,
yeah.
I had to develop that over time to actually have a sense of forgiveness. Because, of course, when you're younger, you take everything so personal that you don't have the ability to forgive. So, that's one of the biggest things I'm working with couples all the time is just having a spirit of forgiveness in marriage.
But do you think that you have to learn that before you get married, or do you think marriage is what makes you learn that?
I would like for people to learn it before they got married, but the sad fact of it is that most people learn it after they get married because who did you forgive while you were dating?
Right, you left them.
You left them. You didn't forgive anybody. We still mad at all our exes right now.
I'm out.
You
Yep,
know,
yep.
so one of the first concepts of marriage that I'm teaching couples is forgiveness. And what I teach couples and it's two parts to forgiveness. We always say forgiveness, but what we don't really teach, or what is really not common, is healing. And so I'm always talking to couples about healing and forgiveness works together. You cannot do one without the other. If you forgive but you don't heal, you're gonna have to forgive again, right? Because your
Mm-hmm.
heart is still broken. But if you heal without forgiving, then you haven't done anything. All you did and healing is for you. Forgiveness is for the person that hurt you. And so everyone, and I had to do this too this past week. I had to say to a woman that unless you are perfect, you have to be able to forgive, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so unless you're perfect, you have to be willing to forgive. And the reason why I'm able to forgive is because I'm imperfect. And so I say to myself, I'm imperfect. I will need forgiveness. Therefore, let me give forgiveness.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. All right. So, on a whole nother point that was in the article that just kind of really threw me, um, the author says that sometimes we reject certain candidates for marriage not because they're bad, but because they're too good. He talks about like them being too balanced, too mature, too dependable, and sometimes we marry the wrong people because we don't ourselves associate being loved with feeling happy. And that kind of hit me because, sometimes I think we associate love with crazy drama.
Crazy love.
Yeah.
You're one of
So
those
I'm
people
like,
that
there may be some truth to that.
believe you got to have a crazy love. Like like if your boyfriend fall off the cliff into the ocean, you just jump into.
I used to be that person. The
But you
older
know
I
what? But
get,
you matured now and said
it
I don't
takes
need
too
to
much energy.
take too much. But when you
God,
was younger, when you was 25 and you can't swim, I
I
don't know.
was jumping.
You jump in just cause. That's why you can't get married till you after 35. Cause after you 35, you say, you know what? It don't make no sense in both of us drowning. That don't make no sense. Bye. You just wave at them. Sorry, we ain't both
Wow.
drowning.
Okay, I ain't gonna say all that,
But I,
but
I kind of I kind of disagree with the point because because to be clear, let's rephrase it. It said rejecting certain candidates for marriage not because they are bad, but because they are too good. for the people who do that, that's got to be a very, very small percentage, right?
Men are always hollering women don't want good men.
I hear that too, right? And so when I hear brothers say that, I immediately know that they got flaws, right? Because apparently you're looking for somebody perfect,
Yeah,
right? And there is no such thing as a perfect person. I don't believe that there are perfect marriages. I believe that in every marriage, one person figures out how to work best with the other person,
that's true.
you know? And so the example is if you have a couple where the wife is selfish, the husband learns how to be with a selfish person. Or the wife is with a man who is not good with money. The wife figures out how to negotiate with him. Hey, this is your amount of money you spend. Go blow that because that's what you're going to do, and I'm gonna balance the budget and pay the bills. We all have to do some
Daddy
shifting.
did that.
Uh-oh, you gonna put, 'cause my mama not gonna listen to the podcast, huh? She ain't long.
My daddy said he finally recognized that he was not going to be able to control her spending, so he budgeted around her.
That's real. That's what we have to be able to do. We got to figure out how to make things work. One of the things I learned early on in marriage was that if we focus on complaining about the one or two negative things that we don't like about our chosen selected partner, that we end up spending more time on the things that we don't like than we do
Right.
spending things on the things that we do like. And we like so much of the other person, but then we get focused in on these one or two things that we don't like instead of accepting that there's going to be one or two things that we don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's perfect.
Mm-hmm. This is true. So, kind of as a tie-in to the last topic that really hit me in this article, the author says, and I'm summarizing now, something like, we should not abandon our partner because we have this romantic notion of love and that some perfect one exists who can meet all of our needs and satisfy our every yearning kind of thing. What do you think about that?
What do you think? What do you think first?
I think, like you were saying, everybody is human, and like we have our own individual flaws, so we cannot expect anybody who's not gonna have any flaws. And then once we recognize that they do have flaws, you can't just up and leave.
I need to write a book. I just thought of this title. I think I could just call it 80% is really 100%.
What does that mean?
It means like,
Get some spin on the 80-20 rule?
yep, yep. It means that there is
Everybody
no,
up on that one.
say what?
TD Jakes messed everybody up on that one.
What'd he say?
That and that
In the movie?
you only gonna get 80% of what you want.
I agree 100%. And the reason being is because to get 100%, that means that a person has to be perfect for you. Not perfect, perfect for you. Because somebody could be perfect. Like I could be a perfect husband, but that doesn't mean I'm perfect for every single woman. I have to be perfect for my wife. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so 80% can really be 100%, or it has to be 100%. And if we spend all of our time looking for 100%, that sets the bar extremely high, and it doesn't leave room for forgiveness. It doesn't leave room for mistakes. It doesn't leave room for managing expectations, and expectations ruin marriages every single day.
I want to know if it's anybody out there who really feels like they got 100%.
It will. So what I'm saying to you is, it will be people who says that they have 100%. And what I'm saying is, after evaluating their marriage, what we will figure out is she's selfish. He knows how to be with a selfish person. See what I'm saying?
And he's happy with it.
And he's happy with it. For example, I had a couple one time take the love capacity quiz, and the wife called me and she scored a 1. 1 is selfish.
Oh my
Folks,
God.
everybody out there listening, go take your love capacity quiz on lovecapacity.com. Only takes about 4 or 5 minutes. So this woman called me upset, right? You say something?
I said, a 1? No, I would be upset too.
She called me upset about her 1. You'd be surprised. She really like called me. Like, I'm like, how you find my number? Then I forget I put my number everywhere, right? You know what I'm saying? And so she called me and said, your quiz is wrong, it's raggedy, you should take it down, it's false, it's fake, all that, talk real bad to me, and said that she scored a 1, which is self-centered. And she was like, there's no way she's self-centered. She's been married for 30 years and put 3 boys through college, and her husband is happy. And I accepted all of that. And I said, let me know what your husband scores. And she said her husband's going to come home and take the quiz tonight, and they're going to call me back tomorrow. Next day, husband called me back. He scored a 9 and said that
Oh,
she
wow.
was self-centered.
And she had no clue because she
She
didn't
had
have
no
to.
clue. He said everyone manages around you. Like the boys know it's mama's birthday. Everybody has to come back in town. Everybody got to stop what they're doing. Everyone's got to do, it's a big deal for mama's birthday. It's a big deal for Mother's Day. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows they got to call their mama every week. Like he was running through all of the things that they were doing to make her world be perfect.
Wow.
And she got back
And
on the
she had
phone and
no
she
clue.
apologized. She had no clue. That's how you are when it's called self-centered, right? That's what it is. You're focused on yourself. That's where your center of the universe is me, and everyone's orbiting around me. So it's very difficult to see other people when you just spinning number one, you're spinning around in a circle, right? Because you orbiting around like a solar system. So you just dizzy. You dizzy in your self-centeredness. And so she got on the phone after him and said, you're right. I apologize. Your quiz is accurate.
Wow.
And that's why, like, when I was writing Love Capacity, some of the editors wanted me to say that if you score 1 or 2, that you would have a bad marriage. And I refused
Mm.
to equate a score to mean you would have a bad marriage, because if you score 1 and I score 9 and I'm happy with you the way you are, who am I to say that you have a bad marriage?
Mm-hmm.
And then if I had people like, say, for example, you scored a 3, another person scored a 3, right? That means it means that if 2 people score a 3, that means you love at the same capacity. You
Right.
love, you understand love the same. So that means that I don't need you to tell me that you love me every day. I'm good. I
Mm-hmm.
believe it. I don't need you to show me that you love me every day. I don't want to be loved that much. I don't have intrusion. I don't want to do affection. If you find someone who doesn't want affection and you don't want to give affection, who am I to say your relationship is better than the people who own each other all day long?
Good point.
And so that's why I refused that point. I said, no, whatever you score is what you score. So that goes to the people listening to the podcast too. Whatever you score is what you score. And then the purpose is to take that score and figure out how you can increase it. Because even if you're a 3 and your partner's a 3, then I still think you both should try to learn more about love and try to expand your capacity in hopes that, it can get better. Because I always believe that marriages can get better no matter what we're doing.
Cool. All right. You got any other thoughts on this topic?
Um, One of the things I thought about too when I was reading the story about, the article, let's refer to the article again. The article was,
Why you married the wrong person?
he said it funny
I mean,
there.
that just
Like,
hit me. That just really hit me.
she was talking to you? Was she talking to you?
Yes. I mean, I was like, okay, I do not want, I waited this long to avoid that, but we'll see.
Cause if it would have said why you were married the wrong person at 30, then you would have skipped it.
Yeah.
Cause that ain't me. But why you
Yeah.
were married the wrong person, open ended by Alain
Right.
de Botton.
Right.
What was his last name again?
De Botton.
De Botton. Got to give him credit for his article in the New York
I don't
Times
know.
on May 28th. Okay, so then other thoughts I had. I believe that 90% of women want to date only the top 10% of men. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. Who wants like last stand?
But see, but see, what I really mean by that is women make, and generally speaking, whatever I'm speaking, I'm gonna say women or I'm gonna say men, but I'm really talking about the average individual. The average individual will have this list of almost demands or expectations that you don't know how to settle for less. And what I'm looking for is for people to understand that if you can get 8 out of 10, you don't get to choose which 8 out of 10 that you have in a person. So you can't say, okay, I want 10 things. Okay, go ahead. What you got?
I mean, I feel you on you get 80 and 80 is 100. But I do think you get to choose which 8 out of 10 you get.
And what that
Like,
means is, go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, if your list includes looks and money and, all of that, and you get that, and then he's, just crazy as all get out or a cheater versus, the dude who has less money or, less looks or whatever, but he's faithful. I think you get to choose your 8.
Right. What I mean by choosing your 8 is that once you get into a relationship, if you can count 8, then that's a good guy for you. See what I'm
Unless,
saying?
one of those two that you don't have is like fidelity.
Right, right, of course. It can't be any negative. This is one of those things where like with love capacity, I don't count negative, I only count positive. Right? And so you get to 8 by counting, okay, he has a good job, he's able to provide, he's gonna be a great father figure, he loves his mother, though whatever you have on your list, but you can't say be with a good guy who's got 8 out of 10 things, and then you stuck on, man, I wish he was taller.
Mm,
See what
yeah,
I'm saying? You
yeah,
stuck. Like you said earlier, right? You said the guy's got a house and he's paying child support. That means he's involved in the kid's life, and the woman is still complaining.
right.
That's the example that I'm trying to convey to women is that, and men too. Men have this too, but men don't have it as much because sometimes we'll marry a chick because she got a fat booty. Like we'll do that. That's our
That
problem,
should
right?
be cool.
hmm Right. And so
Maybe.
I wanted us to finish up. Is that it on relationships for today? I wanted us to finish up talking about just some other current events.
Yeah, I'm good.
You good on relationships? So now I had some stuff for you. Like, did you see the vice presidential debate last week? And why would somebody watch the vice presidential debate?
Okay, so I'm a nerd, and yes, I wanted to see how Tim Kaine and Mike Pence present themselves. What I really watched the debate for was to see how Mike Pence was going to defend Donald Trump, because I just don't think there was any defense for him. But in my opinion, Mike Pence came out much more poised and presidential than Tim Kaine did.
What's funny is I was on a call and the debate had just started and you sent me a text message like at 8:05. It was like 5 minutes into the debate and you said Tim Kaine is already blowing it. And I was like, how can he be blowing it 5 minutes into the debate? And I started watching later. I was like, yo, she's right. He's blowing it 5 minutes. You just knew. Like, how do we know, like, okay, this is what he's about to do the rest of the day?
Well, I mean, part of it was just the way you carry yourself. So, there's a term in psychology that they call crazy making, and that's when somebody could be the crazy person in the situation, but as long as they stay stable and look at you like you're crazy, you can end up feeling like the crazy person. And so I feel like Mike Pence just stood there and watched Tim Kaine just implode and just shook his head, and Mike Pence looks like the sane one.
What did you think about the debate on Sunday where they did like the town hall?
I really liked the format, but I really was disappointed that the whole conversation was, mostly centered around Trump's, whatever statements he made, the tape from umpteen years ago. I just, we didn't really talk about a whole lot of issues. And then there were a lot of major issues that were completely bypassed.
You know what's funny too, is there were only 4 questions from the audience.
Yeah,
You don't even notice that. I didn't even notice that until I read that later. Is that it's supposed to be a town hall, which means to me that there's no moderators or whatever, or minimal interference by the moderators. But there were really only 4 questions from the town hall. I was disappointed by that, and I
well,
agree with you. Go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
I agree with you that I wish they would have talked about other things like the economy more, jobs more, Social Security. They didn't talk about it all. Climate change. They didn't talk about it all. So
I actually got into a debate about the debate um, because there was a question from a Muslim American um, to specifically Trump. And basically, his response was that Muslim Americans need to do better about turning in terrorist activity from other Muslim Americans. Um, and to me, that response was basically um, kind of blame the victim because it's basically saying if you want us to trust you, you have to go out of your way to turn in other people. But you wouldn't say that to a Latino American or a white American or,
yeah, and I noticed that too, that he really didn't even answer the question. Like the person was looking for like a
no, he didn't.
solution or an approach, and he really almost just said, that y'all need to do something. Instead of
So
saying,
basically, oh, go ahead.
you go ahead. No, you go.
So, yeah, so basically the point was, how do you bridge the gap to Trump? And Trump said, y'all need to take responsibility and make us trust you.
I'm really disappointed in the amount of people that are really going to vote for Donald Trump. Like, I get that Hillary, right? It really is. Like, I get that. I mean, I preferred Bernie,
Yeah,
10 times, like 10 to 1 over Hillary. And I'm not a big fan, and I really don't like a lot of the things that Hillary's done and gotten away with and the lies that she tells. And I don't trust Hillary, you know, very much at all. This is how I described Hillary to somebody today. I said that Hillary can be bought to go to Donald Trump's level down, but she can also be bought to go up. Like Hillary, she don't care how she get $1 million. She'll take $1,000,000 bills from 1 million people, or she'll take 1 million from one person. Donald Trump don't want $1 million from 1 million people.
that's a good point.
And so he can't, like they say, he can't be bought. He can't be bought for a reason. Like he, there's certain things he does not want. There's certain things he's principled by. That I don't like black people, for example, or like when he had they talked about the things in the past with him denying African Americans apartments. Like, and
Yep.
I just read an article today, as a matter of fact, where a Miss Teen USA winner said that she was told that Donald Trump didn't like black people. Did you see that?
Uh-uh.
I meant to send that to you. I saw that today. The Miss Teen USA of a couple years ago was an African American woman, and she said that when she was announced the winner, someone came up to her and said, "Hey, if Donald Trump doesn't seem excited about meeting you, or is kind of nonchalant or not as attentive, it's because he doesn't really like your type."
Wow.
She was actually told that, and she said, sure enough, it's on HuffingtonPost.com, and sure enough, she said that Donald Trump barely made eye contact with her and really was not interested in her.
But had she been a skinny white woman with big boobs, he would have been all in.
Exactly. And then there was some other part too where she noticed that Donald Trump, and I think I'm mixing the story a little bit, so you definitely got to read the article, don't quote me. But there was another part too when she was talking about Donald Trump was saying something about how smart a woman was, and he had just met the woman. So how could he know she was smart? So it was really about him Googling at her shape and
Yeah,
just trying to make some kind of compliment. It was really sexist.
yeah. I mean, that's just who he is.
And that's the sad part, that we know who he is and people still voting for him.
Because we want to say, well, he's real. But what nobody's actually saying is it's not just that he's real, it's that you agree with what he's saying. I mean, I
I
think we
don't,
need to all be real, and as Americans, just be real. You're voting for Donald Trump because you agree that Mexicans should all be shipped off. You're voting with Donald Trump because you agree that no Muslims should be allowed in. You're voting for Donald Trump because you agree that women are second-class citizens.
Final thoughts for this week?
I think that was heavy enough.
Tamara Good show. We'll do it again. Hopefully next week we'll try to do it. Everyone listening, make sure you subscribe on Spreaker so whenever new podcasts come out that you automatically get those added to your application. Follow us on Facebook. Find us on Facebook. I'm Stephen James Dixon. Tamara, do you want people to go to your Facebook?
Let me think about that one.
I ain't mad at that. My wife say all the time. For people that try every time I do a radio show or a TV show or whatever, people want to friend me and they send friend requests to my wife. My wife reject all of them. Just
Try to be incognito. I'll just be the
right,
sidekick for now.
right. My wife said I'm not a celebrity and I don't be friends. And people actually sometimes will message me and say, "Hey, I sent a friend request to your wife," and I have to tell them my wife don't want to be friends with you. It ain't personal. She just her Facebook to her is personal. It's all her friends. Whereas my Facebook is right. My Facebook is public. So StephenJamesDixon.com, Instagram, again, Speaker Radio is SPEREKER. And subscribe and leave feedback and tell a friend and we'll get it on iTunes and all those different places. Thanks for listening.